get rich or die, try and run. It's unprecedented.
Crazy.
You've been shot. How many times have you been shot?
9 times.
9 times.
Yeah, it was only one situation though. It was one.
Well, yeah, okay.
He's an artist, an entrepreneur, an actor, a director, a producer.
It's like that anyway for mom versus the dad. When it's a male child, mommy's everything.
I never knew my father. You know, I never actually met him.
Yeah.
Sabrina, every time when she came around, she had a smile that'll light up the room. She was the party.
I don't think I really dealt with it in the early stages, Larry, because I lost my mom when I was like 8.
He can juggle. He's great at Scrabble. He pretty much does it all.
Yeah, which I imagine is a tough area, despite the fact that it's called Queens, which makes it sound kind of friendly. Yeah. And
you know, I grew up with my grandparents. You know, 'cause my mom, she got killed when I was 8 years old. I had to live with them.
So I didn't really understand at that point, but...
If you didn't know her, she ain't talking to you. If you knew her, I'm like, just to be around her was real cool.
She had me when she was 15, so, you know, back then it wasn't as common as the young girls have children at 15, a little more now than they did.
Later, like, they would consistently say, oh, well, you know, she's not coming back. And I'm like, yeah, she is.
So at that point, she started hustling to be able to provide for me at that point.
she was involved with what she was...
Yeah, selling drugs.
Selling drugs.
Yeah.
You know, like my grandfather looked at me like, hey, he really doesn't understand in the early points. But then later, you know, you grow and you start to understand.
So how old were you when you got involved in selling drugs yourself?
Around 12.
12 years old, man.
Yeah.
That's really difficult for someone from my background to understand.
So he was real old-fashioned. He's representation of tradition for me. So he would just come and give my grandmother this check.
Even at 12, you know, you still have to live by your parents' rules.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, you can't just be out hustling. Like I had to.
And I never understood that growing up. I was like, you just gonna give her the whole check? He was like, yeah, what's the matter with you? Like,
have my grandparents think I was enrolled in an after-school program.
Well, in a way you were.
Yeah.
Because she was aware of what was really there, it made my responsibilities her responsibilities.
Well, when I got to high school, my first year, I got arrested at school. This time, it wasn't a long time. I just, you know, because it was a juvenile situation. And then the second time, I was going for 7 months.
Yo, quick question. Could you outrun a rumor, outsmart a bullet, and out-hustle a courtroom all before lunch? Because that's the Tuesday routine of Curtis Jackson, the kid Queens crowned long before the charts did. Right now, you're locking eyes with Curtis Jackson's latest news, ripped straight from the blacktop, pasted onto bank contracts, and hurled into living rooms worldwide. We're peeling the lid off secrets his rivals still Google at 3 in the morning. How did a 12-year-old, armed with nothing but sneakers and nerve, turn mixtape chatter into global stock chatter? How did he flip 9 holes in his flesh into 9-digit bank lines? And why do corporate lawyers keep a framed picture of him beside bankruptcy statutes as living proof of loophole mastery? So stick around for 30 seconds and discover why 9 slugs couldn't muffle his laugh, why one basement mixtape bullied billion-dollar labels into silence, and which late-night phone call turned neighborhood beef into award show fireworks. I'll spill the trick he uses to spin every headline, good or bad, into pure algorithm candy. By the final minute, you decide, would you trade comfort for chaos if it meant stacking a legacy this loud? Drop a yes or no in the chat right now, because we're rolling out and there are no seatbelts on this ride. Curtis James Jackson III inhaled his first breath on July 6, 1975, under a subway shaking ceiling in South-Side Jamaica, Queens. The apartment trembled so hard with each passing train that lullabies sounded like steel hammering iron. His mom Sabrina hustled in heels sharper than switchblades, turning products into diapers and a tiny slice of neighborhood respect. At 5, Curtis thought perfume clouds and gold hoops were standard mom gear. At 8, he learned otherwise. She was murdered before the summer's first ice cream truck, and the silence that followed felt louder than the trains. Grandma and Grandpa stepped in, stocking kindness but rarely enough groceries. The city offered free lunch and broken promises. By 12, Curtis studied 2 textbooks, math homework and the street price sheet. He taped a 380 under his notebook, prayed metal detectors stayed sleepy, and walked cracked corridors flashing perfect attendance smiles. Every bell meant a different identity: student, runner, lookout, breadwinner. When cops cuffed him at 16 on gun and drug charges, they threw him into a holding cell where he counted bars on the door and bars in his head, vowing the next time he grabbed a mic, he'd never let it go. Boot camp swapped concrete walls for barbed wire and lectures for sweat. He earned a GED, a lighter rap sheet, and a promise never to beg another boss for crumbs. Kelvin 50 Cent Martin, the Brooklyn stick-up legend, became his spirit guide. Curtis borrowed the name like armor, vowing to repay it in fear and fascination. Jam Master Jay heard an early demo and invited him into a studio that smelled like burning cables and fresh pizza. Jay drilled hooks, scrapped verses, and taught him to leave no fat on a beat. In 2 weeks, Curtis cut 36 tracks for Columbia, each one hitting like a sledgehammer. Then the streets struck back. A sedan rolled up outside Grandma's and 9 shots shattered the afternoon. Bullet holes riddled his hand, hip, legs, chest, and cheek. Surgeons wired his jaw while he plotted melodies. 5 months later, he ditched the walker, found Columbia had ghosted him, and learned a blacklist stretches further than the subway map. Instead of folding, he found exile in a cramped Canadian basement, burning mixtapes, selling them from a beat-up Explorer, and sharpening a sound as hard as rebar. Before that chapter closed, one scene set the table. In a Toronto hotel, he counted the last of his gas money on a Bible-thin bedsheet. A mixtape reseller knocked, waved a fistful of Canadian bills, and begged for every copy in the trunk. The cash wasn't rent, but it was proof the message traveled. Curtis phoned Lloyd Banks. "If strangers north of the border feel me, the whole planet's next." Banks laughed, then booked a studio. The mixtape hustle was officially international. Eminem was riding a Detroit tour bus when a bootleg CD labeled "Guess Who's Back" slid into his hands. 3 tracks in, he called Dr. Dre, swearing he'd found their next payday. Dre listened, paused, and said, "Fly him in yesterday." The studio looked like NASA, but Curtis treated the gold plaques like motivational posters. In 7 sleepless days, they forged half of Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Every line dripped Survivor DNA. Every kick drum felt like a car door slam and a drive-by echo. In Day Club crashed into the radio like a masked intruder. And suddenly, Curtis Jackson's latest news was a Wall Street headline. The album opened at 872,000 units the first week, scaring the execs who had dropped him. Reporters asked how it felt. He said, I never left. The industry just turned the lights off." Flush with credibility, he launched G-Unit Records. Lloyd Banks delivered bulletproof punchlines, Tony Yayo supplied street mythology, and Young Buck added Southern growl. Their first group album went double platinum, and G-Unit clothing flew off racks faster than winter coats in a blizzard. But 50 Cent knew momentum dies without controversy. Enter Ja Rule. Queens vs. Queens felt like family beef, but played like gladiator sport. A stolen chain lit the fuse. Diss tracks fanned it into wildfire. When 50 Cent dropped Wanksta, he didn't just clown Ja. He rewired consumer loyalty. Radio hosts looped the track, fans chose sides, and Curtis Jackson's latest news headlined every hip-hop blog. Murder Inc. faced a federal investigation that left Ja exposed. 50 Cent bought 200 front-row seats to Ja's concert simply to leave them empty. An empty chair flex so petty rivals laughed before realizing the psychological warfare. Strategy or savagery, what's your call? Next headline in 50 Cent's scandal update, The Game. The Compton rookie entered G-Unit as catalog muscle but left as a shouting opponent. Gunfire erupted outside Hot 97 and cable news repeated the footage, while anchors learned to pronounce G-Unit. Sales spiked. Each disaster added commas to streaming statements. Curtis Jackson's latest news became a masterclass in narrative judo, using enemy energy to swing higher. Not every battle was lyrical. Glaceau offered a minority share swap for vitamin water. Curtis branded Formula 50 grape flavor and swagger. When Coca-Cola bought Glaceau for $4.1 billion, he pocketed roughly $100 million pre-tax. Now CNBC crawlers paired his name with Apple earnings. Money didn't shield him from lawsuits. A $10 million sample dispute in 2007 ended with zero owed thanks to ironclad paperwork. The 2008 fire that torched his Long Island mansion fueled gossip. He answered with the mixtape War Angel LP, spinning scandal into chart fuel and slipping "This is 50 Cent's scandal update" into interviews as if drama were a subscription box. The Kanye West showdown of 2007 still ranks as co-marketing genius. Graduation and Curtis shared a release date. 50 Cent boasted he'd retire from solo albums if Kanye outsold him. The stunt generated wall-to-wall coverage. Kanye won week 1 sales. Both albums went platinum. Years later, Curtis admitted the bet was theater. So who lost when both banks cashed checks? Bankruptcy struck in 2015. Headlines screamed, "Broke," but corporate lawyers saw strategy. Chapter 11 ring-fenced liabilities from a $7 million verdict. 18 months later, he emerged leaner, joking, "I'm bulletproof to paperwork now." Freed, cash flowed into television. Power premiered in 2014, dethroned cable giants by season 3, and spun into Power Book 2, Raising Kanan, and Force. When contract talks soured, he live-tweeted frustration, leveraging fan pressure into a richer deal with Fox. Could you weaponize your own following when bosses stall on a raise? Meanwhile, 50 Cent's scandal update kept pulsing. A feud with Rick Ross turned into a courtroom when Ross's ex sued over a leaked tape. Curtis vlogged from court steps, mocked Mayweather's reading skills for a viral ice bucket challenge side bet, and still charted. Touring shifted to 50 Fest pop-ups, block party concerts with barbecue, merch, and selfie moments. TikTok views exploded, turning concerts into meme factories and Curtis Jackson's latest news into episodic content. Streams spike whenever a beef revives older tracks. Many men return to Billboard via a TikTok challenge reenacting the 9-shot miracle. Users dare each other to wrap the hook with marbles in their mouths like his swollen tongue. Behind the curtain, he invests in mining startups, sterilization tech, and crypto. He accepted Bitcoin for album sales in 2014. Those coins sat dormant until 2021's bull run, suddenly worth millions. When reporters asked if the wallet paid yesterday's bills, he shrugged. Forget yesterday, I'm thinking next halving. Take his liquor play, Branson Cognac and Le Chemin du Roi Champagne. A single bottle retails at $150, and he trolls rivals by mailing them empty cases with better luck next quarter notes. Ratings for BMF shattered network forecasts, and owning 100% of the theme song masters made him rich twice. Philanthropy flows too. Annual turkey giveaways, GED scholarships, and surplus lunch conversions into shelter meals. Which do you respect more? Quiet charity or bold giveaways daring others to match? Comment below. Fans treat each headline like choose your own adventure. When Curtis Jackson's latest news hits, Twitter stacks hot take threads higher than mixtape towers. Wall Street watchers applaud his bankruptcy jiu-jitsu. Reddit finance heads dissect court filings line by line. Rap purists split between crowning him king of hooks and accusing him of birthing clickbait culture. Television critics once scoffed at Power, then wrote apologies. Rolling Stone admitted Kanan Stark brought Sopranos-level menace back to cable. Parents groups complained about violence, and their outrage drove curious viewers to binge. Even Columbia University now offers a Hustle Economics Week centered on his playbook. Can you imagine a former drug runner becoming Ivy League homework? Every like, comment, and share you drop turns the algorithm dial. When you meme his petty clapbacks, you extend the life of 50 Cent's scandal update. Survivors of gun violence question glorifying 9 shots. Community activists want deeper mental health funding. Last November, he donated $300,000 to a trauma clinic in Queens. PR or progress? Your verdict shapes the next chapter. Ready for Easter eggs? The bullet still lodged near his tongue shapes that gravel voice, meaning every hit carries a literal souvenir. He records verses under an American flag taken from his first overseas tour, finishes most hooks in under 8 minutes, and tracks royalties with wristwatches, each timepiece tied to a specific song's first million streams. He drafts lyrics with a pawn shop fountain pen his grandfather rescued, insisting the metal weight reminds him of legacy. Video game sales from 50 Cent. Bulletproof topped $125 million, but development documents show he nearly pulled the plug until programmers added the tongue bullet detail. Meet Oprah the Schnauzer, named because she's richer than the whole kennel. Her diamond-studded collar cameos on Instagram Lives. Every live set list hides a secret Plan B track to spike crowd energy. He's used it twice in 15 years. The first $1 million check, photocopied, laminated, and framed above the studio door, so every artist walks under proof that mixtape dreams pay real money. Medical journals once cited his rehab timeline to refine trauma protocols, hip-hop teaching science. He even owns trademarks for Hustle Harder across products and seminars, so print that slogan without permission and expect a cease and desist sparkling with G-Unit letterhead. Smart or savage? Cast your vote. So here we are staring at the scoreboard after 4 wild quarters. Curtis Jackson's latest news proves resilience can moonwalk through bullets, contracts, and bankruptcies while stacking dividend checks. 50 Cent's scandal update shows drama isn't derailment. It's rocket fuel when wielded right. Which lesson hits you hardest? Paperwork precision, content velocity, or fearless troll energy? Drop your pick below. Your take writes the next comment chain. If this grind fired you up, tap subscribe so you never miss the next 50 Cent's scandal update or any deep dive into hip-hop hustles. Ring the bell. Notifications are like mixtape drops. Better early. Share this video with a friend who thinks success is a straight line. Let them see the zigzags that pop champagne corks. Plotting your own empire? Blast your boldest goal in the comments. The wildest dream may earn a shout-out in the next upload. Until then, keep your paperwork tighter than your circle, your hustle louder than your excuses, and your mindset bulletproof. Because if a kid from a rattling Queens basement can rewrite the game, what's stopping you?